network. So from them, we can just try to be getting an engagement. And afterward, our own work, the feedback from our engagements, what we have done, our feasibility, can I just try to be getting us at the niche as well. So those are particular. This is the main thing that we talk about, and you also talk about that there will be a section for categories that they are going to be doing this. Like there will be a particular group separate for getting the niche for an engagement. So they will be in charge of that. So I like that's actually what we talk about. So thanks so much for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Mr. Tai Abdul. Exactly. Yeah, we talked about that in that meeting, and subsequently, immediately after that, maybe an hour after it, we had another meeting for the audit, for the financial reporting group, and we also said similar thing. We said that the engagement function is going to take a dimension, and the dimension was clearly stated. So we're going to be having quality control and quality assurance committee, or a team that are going to be looking at the composition of the engagement team, because we said that every engagement must have a team. So for instance, if you have an engagement coming from outside, so we must have a team for that engagement, whereby we have an expert, or we already have some categorization, which is we have expert members and knowledge members of a team, of every team, such as tax, audit, financial report, and so on. So when engagement comes, it's not automatic. It's not that okay, everybody will just jump on the engagement and start doing. No, because of the confidentiality of quality of our expectation of the profession, you can't just get anybody into the team. That's why we need that's the job of the quality control and quality assurance of team. They have to right size the team, the engagement team, to ensure that only the right persons are in the engagement team. For instance, nevertheless, everybody on the engagement team will consist of expert members, knowledge members, and undergraduates. That's the composition. So the quality control and quality assurance thing, we vet, we interview. Some of us, we are going to be getting on the engagement, we're going to be asking some very personal questions. And just not because they want to intrude into your privacy, just to be sure that you are who you are and you can be entrusted with client information. So that's the job of those who will be in the quality control and quality assurance team, just to ensure that the clients get value for what they are paying for. And just as I said that day, there are some things that if you meet a client, he will tell you, okay, these are my expectations. These are my expectations, or these are my problems that I want you to come and solve as a professional. Then you highlight the problem, and after noting or scanning through the books or the system of the client, you can also find out some other problems or some other things that you think the client should do. So on the basis of that, you can now offer recommendation that okay, you have to do all of this. These are what you want, and these are things we see you can also add to it to make your system run faster and to make your books properly kept. So after doing that, then you can now offer a robust service to the client. So the quality control and quality assurance committee will now look into this objective and match them against the job done, because they're going to be looking at the job done. We look at the job done. Is it in line with the main objectives? So if it is not, it will not go. That job will not go out until it's done properly and in line with the expectation of the client and the expectations we have all also the team has drawn for that engagement, just to protect the brand. So that like I said in that meeting, that see, some of us, some clients, they only give one opportunity. That's why we have to see all opportunities as ones. If you miss it, you may not get it again. That's the way the business world is. If you're asked to do something and it is messed up, you may not have that opportunity again. Okay, lastly, before I think our resource person should be ready now, but before he comes in, any other person would um like to speak on any of these things we're doing. Okay, just a moment. Okay, I can see somebody unmuted.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening.
Okay, my name is Ogumefu. Basically, in addition to what you have also mentioned and the other man, we also talk about the what's it called, the network that we have currently. And although that day, I also wanted to make contribution that we should also leverage on the network so that when anytime we have engagement like this, because you mentioned during the section that it is possible that someone has to go there physically to meet the client, so that when we are also uh, doing this, we should consider that location or state also consider, so that if somebody from the ProSyn has to represent us, it will be more easier for the person to go there, and because of easy access, so that it can also be a good representative of our network. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Likon, for your contribution. Just a moment, just a little break. I want to get feedback from our resource person. Our apologies, everyone on the call. Yes, our resource person is with us, Dr. Olanrewaju. His citation has been read earlier. So, Doctor, sir, please, you have the floor.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. Let me start by saying I'm very, very sorry. I was dragged into another meeting by the Vice President of ICANN, and I was hoping that we will finish before 5:30. So that's why I'm joining a bit late. So my sincere apologies to the organizer and all the participants. Sorry, I'm at a site where my internet is so poor. I'm somewhere in Abuja, and I'm working from home today. So the internet is so poor around here. So if you don't mind, I will not be able to show my face and all. So good evening, um, ladies and gentlemen.
Good,
Can you hear
sir.
me?
Yeah, you can hear you loud and clear, sir.
All right, thank you. So let me greet every member of, how do you pronounce this your network name? ProSyn or ProSyn?
ProSyn, the full meaning
ProSyn.
is professional synergy. ProSyn.
Okay, ProSyn. So good evening to you all. It's my pleasure being with you this evening. And again, I'm sincerely sorry for my late joining of this all-important program. So I've been asked to come and speak to performance management functions of professional accountants in the SME space. That's the topic I've been given, to come and speak to the professional accountants of our roles in the SME space. I wasn't here when you read my citation. My name is Olanrewaju. I'm a finance professional, and I think I've been doing finance for the past 25 years. So it's my pleasure to be here this evening. And I would like to also mention that the topic you have put forward, is a very topical topic. Because when we talk about SME, small and medium enterprise business, they are actually the backbone of every economy. In fact, some people call them the engine room of every economy. If you don't have strong SMEs, I can tell you for free, most of the micro factor of the nation or of any country will be showing red, particularly in terms of employment. Because when you look at it, SME plays a major role in putting employment statistics right, because they are the one that employ the chunk of the employable gap or sector of any economy. So if you speak specifically about Nigeria, you know, about 48 million Nigerian, 48 million plus actually, Nigerian are employed by SMEs. Yes, about 48. SME businesses, the ones that are registered in Nigeria, they contribute close to 49.7% to our GDP. If you pull them across sectors, close to 49.7%. And of course, they also account for about 7.6% of our total exports. That tells you that the small and medium scale space cannot be overlooked or jettisoned. In fact, in recent times, I've seen a lot of accountants flourish. When I say flourish, make a lot of money by focusing on the SME business in Nigeria. Help them prepare accounts, help them do their books, you know, and they are making so much money by doing so. But before I even get into that, what are the challenges faced by SMEs in our economy and maybe everywhere in the world? Because the challenges are same. Some people call the challenges the silent killers, that they slowly kill SMEs. Because what you see in Nigeria is you see a lot of people going into business. Before you know it, they're out of the business. And you're wondering what's going on here. If you look at it critically, it's because of these challenges that is being faced by the SME. One of them is cash flow crisis. You know, most SMEs they run out of cash flow so easily because they don't plan their cash flow. Because they don't plan their cash flow. So if you see most philanthropy organizations that are giving SME grants these days, you will see them also talk to them about we managing and overseeing how you use the money. Basically, what they are doing for them is helping them to plan their cash flow so that they don't run out of it because they don't plan. They don't do what we call cash flow budgeting. They don't. Another one is data darkness. Most SMEs don't keep data. They don't even keep proper records. Talk less of saying they want to keep proper data for extrapolating, for forecasting, for managing the future. They hardly do this. So therefore, they just operate without clear financial feasibility of their business. You know, another major challenge of SME is cost management. Most of them don't manage their expenses. Before you know it, their expenses will grow faster than the revenue, and thereby it will result in losses, and they will be making losses. And before you know it, the business will run out of blood and it will go down. Another one is funding deserts. Most SME cannot even borrow loan. Number one, they don't have the data, they don't plan well. You understand? And because they don't plan, they don't have the data, they don't have good proper recording. Most banks, most microfinance banks, most financial investors, angel investors, and what have you, they can't even give them loan or any form of credit facilities, as the case may be, because they are not doing, they are inside what you call funding deserts. Why? They don't have clean record to be able to attract fund or loan, as the case may be. Another challenge you see there is regulatory maze. Multiple tax authorities come to them for compliance, for payment, and all that. Even though we think that this gap or this problem has been seriously closed by the new tax reform act. As the new act focuses on them, basically ensuring that most of them that meet the definition of the SME or small company, as it were, that they are not paying any form of taxes. But prior to now, the major challenge is multiple tax authorities come to them to collect money, and of course, changing in tax base and requirements and all that. And the last but not the least is digital divide. Most SME cannot adopt digital solutions. They can't use technology to drive their business. So you therefore see limited adoption of modern financial tools. And I mean, you can testify to this. During COVID, most SME closed shop for that 2-3 months. That businesses were not really operating because of limited movement. Why? Majority of them have not adopted modern financial tools to help them upgrade their business. Are you with me? So therefore, we say they see this problem However, some of them see it as a opportunity. Areas they don't understand, they shout, they go to IT professionals, they go to accountants, and that's one of the opportunity we have. Because these guys are not financially literate. They require the expertise of financial accountants to come and help them do their books because they are not financially literate. So it's important that we know this challenge. These challenges you see that I've just spoken to, they are opportunities for accounting professionals to create massive value. Provide, help them close the digital device, help them with regulatory compliance as much as possible, help them put books together so that they can be attractive to investors, help them, help them do their budget so that at no point should they run out of should they increase their expenses arbitrarily without you know without looking at how their revenue is doing, you know, and before they start going into massive losses. So it's important. So to professional accountants, we also need to know that we are architects of businesses. We are architects of every business success because our function is very much required, especially by these SMEs. I told you, I have friends. They are not even looking at big organization. Their focus, is to look at what the small organizations are doing. I must mention to you that accountant's role has also shifted from the traditional role that we used to partake to modern role. So any accountant that is not, aware of this, of course, cannot take the opportunities that I've just spoken over. So in few minutes, I'm just going to talk about the role of the accountants then and the role of the accountants now. So we call it the traditional view or the traditional role. Why the now we say the modern accountant or the modern role of accountant. As we know in the past, accountants are record keeper. All they do is to keep record. Are you with me? In fact, in those days, when we were growing up or much younger in this profession, we used to hear that accountants are not good communicators, that they can't speak good English. They can't interpret what they've done because the focus then is just to prepare accounts. It's just to show Naira and Kobo. It's just to show pounds and pence, and all that and all that. But these days, accountants have moved on to being a strategic advisor. See the challenges I mentioned here. If somebody is not strategic, they can't provide solution to the challenges that SME are looking for to be able to scale. Then again, another point is in the olden days, accountants are historically focused. They record what has happened. They are champions in recording history. Are you with me? But this day, now, accountants are supposed to be futuristic. They are supposed to be future oriented. They are supposed to be seeing the future. They are supposed to be visionaries. They are supposed to see the future using the trend of historical data. This was not happening in the olden days. This was not happening. Before now, accountants are technical specialists. They sound in double entry. They know figures. They can add figures and all that. But these days, it's more of a business partnering. You should not only focus on your numbers, you should be an advisor to every executive, to all departments. Partner with them, let them know how they are doing so that they can be better. So that's why these days we refer to accountant as business partner. If you ask me now, I'll tell you that I'm a business partner because I don't only focus on what is happening, in finance department or what is happening around figures. I also want to know what is happening generally all over the business because and a business partner. Before again, they call accountants number crunchers. There's only figure they know. They are technical person. But these days, accountants are referred to as growth architect. In fact, some people call us a chief value officer, no longer CFO or what have you. They say accountants are chief value officer. Prior to now, too, we play major role in the back office. Accountants, they don't see accountants in the olden days. They are in the back office. They are more or less like engine room, but these days accountants are frontline strategies. If you don't know, most accountants are used to replace the CFO when the seat is vacant. A good example is MTN, to mention that I know. CFO of MTN in this Nigerian company, CFO has become MD of MTN Nigeria like 2 to 3 times. Their CFO, because now accountants are no longer playing in the back office, they are playing in the what? In the in the front line office. And that's why people see them. They are they are very visible, you know, they are very visible. People see them and all that, and as such, they are able to get what is due to them. Very important. Now, having compared what used to happen and what we have now, let me just delve into talking about the core competence of accountants today. One is technical mastery. Of all we have said, we have not said that accountants should not know their onions. As an accountant, for you to be able to help SME to close these gaps we have mentioned, you must be sound in your IFRS. Because if you are not sound in IFRS, how do you want to prepare the accounts? You must be sound in your what? In the IFRS. You must be sound in the tax laws, the new tax reform. I expect that every accountant would have gone through it to know how it's going to affect SMEs and all. Then, of course, depending on where you play, if you are an auditor, you must also be very strong in your audit standards. You must understand your various international standards on auditing so that you can be able to help this SME. Number two is that accountants must be a strategic thinker. We said previously that they focus on history, but now we're saying they should be future oriented. When we talk about strategy, we are talking about you devising how you want to run your business going into the future. So being strategic means that you want to be able to, prescribe how the future should go. You want to be able to extrapolate using a trend of what has happened. So as a strategic thinker, accountant must be able to do business modeling. They should be able to do scenario planning and all. Having said that, another key thing that accountants should own as competence or skill is technology proficiency. Gone are the days. In fact, when I started accounting, we were still using some of those big manual ledgers. I saw it a little before we move into computers those days. So it means that one of the key proficiency is that every accountant must be digital savvy. They must have technology proficiency. They should be able to use accounting software. They should be able to do data analysis or data analytics, as the case may be. And of course, every accountant must have communication skill. You remember I mentioned to you that in the olden days, people believe that we cannot speak good English. You can't even read our reports. But these days, what makes you really shine as an accountant? What's take you to the next level of saying being a CFO, a CEO, as the case may be, is that you must have communication skill. If as an accountant growing, just like you people here, you must, for you to shine, for you to get to the next level, when you finish your studies or when aspire to grow, One key thing you must note is that you must have communication skill. You must be able to explain complex data simply, in simple way. If you are not able to do this, I'm sorry, you are just starting as an accountant. And if you are very ambitious, you must quickly train yourself, upskill yourself on how to communicate. And lastly, of the points I put down here is ethical leadership. Hmm. You cannot remove from accountants ethics. Gone are the days where accountants are reckless. In this day and time and going into the future, accountants are expected to uphold ethics, ethics of the profession, common ethics, in a way that you will be a trusted conscience of your clients and of these SMEs and all that. So it's important that every accountant should own these competencies that I've just spoken to, because we are no longer just counting beans as accountants. We are now planting the right beans in the right soil and at the right time. So you can see that we are now doing much more as accountants. No wonder we are top of mind when organization wants to fill the role of the CFO. Now, having said that, let me quickly dive into strategic planning and budgeting, creating the roadmap. Remember, I said one of the competencies an accountant should have is that they must be a strategic thinker. You know, they must not only be focused on historical data, they must be focused on using those historical data to create the roadmap for the future. It's very, very important. And I can tell you, this point I'm talking about is the major difference between the olden days accountants and the modern day accountants. So having said that, let's look at what we now do. So as accountants, in terms of budgeting and planning to create roadmap for the future, so what are we supposed to put to the table? I would say one, we are supposed to translate the goal of these SMEs. We're supposed to translate their goals. We're supposed to help them translate their business dream. For instance, by asking simple questions to say, owner, where do you see yourself in the nearest future? You have very basic questions so that you can use that to help them modulate, to help them plan, to help them model where they want to be. You will hear some of them tell you, I want to open 3 branches in Lagos, and maybe one in Abuja, or one in Port Harcourt, or one in Enugu. By so doing, you will now have them translate this basic business dream, financially. You now put figures into it to open 3 branches. Maybe you need 15 million capital. You need operating costs of 2 million per month. And for you to break even, because you can't break even when you start, they may not even understand the concept of break even. You need to break it down to them and all that. This is helping SME to translate their goal. When you are done with that, you now help them do what we call budgets, or what we can call budget creation. You help them create budgets, you help them do the operational budget, which will guide their day-to-day businesses. You help them do their capital budget, which will guide their long-term investments. You help them do their cash flow budget, which will help them. Remember, we said cash is the lifeblood of any business. So you help them plan. Most SME go into coma because they don't plan their cash flow. They think they can buy by impulse. They think they can spend anyhow without consciousness of their revenue and what is coming in cash. Then you also can help them do flexible budgets. What if scenario analysis? If you are planning to do a revenue of say 30 million, you understand, and you plan to do expenses of 15 million, if for whatever reason there is huge inflation, You that are supposed to be doing 15 million, you've done 20 million. You need to be able to help them, create a flexible budget that will meet their need at every point in time. Then another point is you can help them with their KPI establishment. Let me tell you, no business runs without what we call business KPI or business metrics. You know, some of them could be financial in some cases, and some of them could be just performance metrics. Every industry has its own. Banking has this, and it's not our normal financial ratios. In most cases, they are business specific. Hotel business, they have their own. You'll be hearing room occupancy, average clinical rates, daily occupancy rates. That's for them. In telecom, they have their own. You'll be hearing churn rates, you will be hearing average revenue per user. We call them business KPI. In the power sector, you'll be hearing ATC and C loss. You'll be hearing billing efficiency. You'll be hearing collection efficiency in the electricity distribution sector. So every business has its own. You must also be able to help, SMEs to determine this KPI, revenue per square meter, if it's in real estate, customer acquisition cost, telecoms also do customer acquisition cost, and most businesses does this as well. Inventory turnover ratio, debtor collection period, or receivable collection period, as the case may be. Help them define it so that they can have a dashboard and be monitoring their performance from time to time. Are you with me? And that's what we call strategic planning and budgeting. You help them with goal transmission, budget creation, and KPI setting. Let me tell you, a business that runs without any metrics or KPI or targets, as the case may be, they will not even know whether they are achieving what they are set out to achieve. So this KPI is very, 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 very important. Let me confirm at this point. Are we together, or I've been talking to myself?
No, sir, we are with you. We can hear you loud and clear. And for the reaction,
Am I too fast?
no,
Or
you are,
just okay?
Or I can see some hands. Just a moment, I can see some hands being raised up. So just hold on.
Let's
When
take it.
doctor is done, you can ask your question.
Okay, that's fine. That's okay. So, having said that, another point I would like to leave with you this evening is in the area of cost management and efficiency plugging. Cost management and efficiency, basically. You see, if you don't manage your costs, you may be taken out of business in no time. Somebody said little leaks from a business may, or little leaks in a boat may end up making the boat, to be surmounted or to sink into the ocean. That's to say that if SME do not manage their costs, they will run into problem. I said earlier that one of the ways they manage their costs is to do budgets. It's for them to run with metrics, which is where we come as professional accountants. Some of them don't even know what we are talking about. So cost is an area that every business owner must focus on very, 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 very well. It's an area where every business owner must focus on very, very well. Now, the reality in Nigeria, as given by the Manufacturer Association report in 2004, they said Nigerian SMEs lose 4.3 trillion annually to inefficiency, to lack of bookkeeping, to lack of recording, to lack of running the business with KPIs, to lack of running the business with budgeting. you can imagine a wholesome amount of 4.3 trillion. This is a lot. This is what? A lot. This is a lot. Then the accountant to skit also said that 68% of these SMEs, they don't know whether their products are profitable or their services are profitable. They don't know. 68% of them. And do you know the reason for this? They don't keep record. Somebody said, if you don't know where you are going, you are just going. You will not know when you have reached where you want to go. Because in the first place, you don't know where you are going. And that's talking to planning. It shows that if you have not planned, you don't have a target, you will just be running business. Most of our SME, they fall into this category. Most of them fall into this category. Now, when we talk about cost management and efficiency, it's important we have a deep dive into cost analysis framework. We have a deep dive into cost analysis framework, talking about what are the major types of costs, direct and indirect. You know, what are direct costs? You know, these are costs that are directly incurred by business. We also call them costs of sales, as the case may be. Then indirect costs, those ones that are not directly, cannot be directly traceable to the core of the business that is being done. Then we also have another category of costs, which we call fixed and variable costs. Again, fixed costs are those costs that varies with the level of production. Variable costs rather varies with the level of production, while fixed costs are fixed, irrespective of the level of production. So they don't even know what is fixed cost. They just move on and all that and all that. Then there are some costs we call value adding costs and non-value adding costs. Generally, we say value adding costs are those costs you incur that will increase your revenue. While the other one you are just incurring them for the sake of it. It could be customer care or what have you, but they are not immediately contributing to your bottom line. So it's important that organization is strategic, and this SME, they are strategic in their cost optimization, or what we call cost reduction. And how can they do that? They should constantly renegotiate their costs with their suppliers. These are practical way. When you see that your cost is growing, constantly check, are these vendors taking advantage of us, and you reduce it. You can use bulk purchasing, to negotiate huge discounts. Another thing under strategic cost reduction is that you can do process re-engineering. What does that mean? You can eliminate redundant steps, redundant activity. Activity that if you remove, they don't really have any impact on your final output. You can remove them. We call it process re-engineering. The other one is technology adoption. Manual process are usually expensive, and you suffer time. So you can do technology adoption, automate repetitive tasks, which is happening now. AI has come. Most things are now somehow being automated and all that. And of course, there's no organization that automates that you will not have what you call reduction in staff. So staff costs will go down, you will drive efficiency, and thereby reducing your overall cost. Another one is energy optimization. I can tell you for free, especially in a country like Nigeria, the huge cost of companies in Nigeria is more on electricity. So if you can think of a green energy, solar, and what have you, you can also reduce your cost drastically, drastically. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to conclude by saying you must also consider the cost or the risk that are associated with the business of the SME. Let me tell you, we have what we call inherent risk. So no matter how a business wants to run away from risk, there are some risks that are inherent in the business some SME do naturally. In fact, there's nothing in this life that does not have a risk, because risk has to do with the future. What will happen in the next 2 minutes, nobody knows. So it's a risk. It could be good, it could be bad. However, for businesses, there are some specific risks that SME should watch out on. If not, they will be exposed. One of them is currency risk. We are import dependent as a nation, and Naira is very volatile now, affecting import costs. So if you bring your materials from abroad, you are going to be facing currency risk, especially when there is fluctuation in exchange rates. So as an accountant, you need to help your clients, the SME, to plan their currency risk by giving them options. Why don't you buy these raw materials in Nigeria? Why don't you agree with the foreign partner that you'll be paying in Naira? You're trying to dodge it. You're trying to pass the risk to them. These are options that people have used in Nigeria because of exchange laws that kills their profitability. Another one is regulatory risk. Me and you know that government policy can even kill a business. If you remember the days of Go Kada, in that year, I think some years ago, I can't remember vividly, there's a company called Go Kada. They recently bought each number of motorcycles to be doing motorcycle business on our roads. But before you know it, in Lagos, then they did a law and they restricted motorcycle or bicycle from certain roads. And what happened to that business? The business almost, in fact, collapsed completely. For them not to die immediately, they convert the motorcycle to dispatch a motor vehicle. But they almost died. Why? Government policies change. Another area is tax policies change at times. One of the changes in the new tax reform is capital gain tax. That when you sell and make profit, instead of doing 10% that we have under the old law, you will now be doing 25. In fact, it started with 30%. That's regulatory risk. Some of these risks, you cannot eliminate them. You can just manage them. You can just manage them. A good example is this regulatory risk, because there are external factors that are not entirely within your control. Another one is customer concentration risk. And some SME don't even know about this. When you are selling 80% or more of your products to just one or two clients, that's concentration risk. What if the client changes his mind not to patronize you? So what happened to your business? You go down ordinarily. Another one is fraud risk. If most of them don't even have internal control. If your internal control is limited, it means that your staff, they will be feeding on you, they will be messing you up. Another one is technology risk. We have been saying this time and days, SME should also adopt technology tools in running their business. Let me tell you, the more you begin to use technology tools, then you must be aware of the technology risk, cyber threats to financial data. I mean, I think about 2 years ago, First Bank lost, is it 40 billion to fraud? And Flutterwave some years ago too, at a point 1 billion, at another point I think over 1 billion. Because if you are so entrenched in technology, you must be careful to do what we call cyber security, beef up your cyber security. So these are common risks that is facing the SME. So it's important that, as professional accountants, we help them to remove or eliminate or reduce to the barest minimum this risk they are face. Then it's also important we support them in their decision making. Somebody say he wants to build an office or they want to build a new plant. We should be able to help them with some basic performance management technique, especially talking about project evaluation. You know, that don't do it now, do it later, or don't do it at all. By using our various evaluation techniques. One of them is investment appraisal. Where you can use NPV, net present value, internal rate of return, or even common payback period. So say if you put your money in this one, you will recover your capital in say 2 years. If you put it in the other one, you won't recover until 4 years. And they are able to guide their decision when they want to make capital project decision. You can also help with what is called scenario-based analysis. You show them the best case scenario if everything goes perfectly. By doing some sort of modeling, what if and what have you. Most likely, realistic expectation, worst case scenario, survival mode. You show that and you do stress testing. That, for instance, if Naira drops to say 2,000, what will happen to your business? These are various scenario analysis we can help them do, to support their decision framework. I've spoken to internal control, help them beef up their internal control to reduce fraud, common segregation of duty. At times, this SME will think that one person can do a lot of things. So there's no control. A person will start a transaction and it will be the one to end it. What are you talking? It will be easier to do fraud now. Because I know I will be the one to do everything. I'm the one with the knife, I'm the one with the yam. So I can cut it anyhow. So internal control beef it up by common segregation of duty, then digitize your process, like we have mentioned, let there be approvals per level of the authorization. Institute bank reconciliation weekly, so that you can detect any strange payment, and block the loophole there. You can also do spontaneous cash counts, spontaneous inventory checks, to be sure that people are following the internal controls that are being instituted and policies and all that. So I think by so doing, you help SME to survive. You help SME to survive. I think I'll be rounding up now so that I can take the questions that you may have. But to tell you this, for you to be qualified, for you to earn your respect, for you to be attracted to this SME, you must have the right skills. I've spoken to you about the soft skills that you must have, but this is more like technical skills. You must have the right qualification. When I say right qualification, I mean you must be a member of a noble profession that can attract you. E.g., you must be a member of ICANN, ACC, CIMA, so that people will know that you have the right expertise to be able to help them to be able to carry on the business. Then, because I know the people I'm talking to, according to what I've been told, you are growing accountants. You need to also get experience. You don't need to wait to get a job forever. You can get a job through volunteering, what you call pro bono work, so that you can gain experience. You can do internships, you can also network with people that that can be of help. Then you can also learn, some basic Microsoft suits, Excel, expose yourself to accounting packages and the rest of them. That is it. That's how you gain this experience. You can also expose yourself. Remember, I talked about being digital savvy, to cloud computing, to AI and automation, to blockchain, to modern or mobile payment integration, automatic reconciliation. These are tools, these are experience you need to get as accountant that can actually help you make difference in the life of these SMEs, in the life of the SMEs. Is very, very important. So in conclusion, as accountants, we have opportunity to be the financial architect of Nigerian economic transformation, especially in the SME space, especially in the SME space. So we need to know that Nigerians doesn't just need more accountants, it needs more financial thinkers who understand our unique business landscape, and that could be you. In fact, that should be you. And the only thing you need to do is to upskill yourself, learn, unlearn, and relearn. On this note, I want to drop the curtain and say thank you to you for listening. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you so much for your time. So much value, so much, so much. And we're so privileged. This session is being recorded, so we have opportunity to listen to this time and time again. Thank you so much. Just before we take the question, I know some of us joined late, and if you don't know who Dr. Oluseyi is, so I just really want to read his citation so you can know who he is. Dr. Oluseyi Olanrewaju is a member, Governing Council, Institute of Chartered Accountants of Nigeria, ICANN. He's an associate professor with James Hope University, Lekki. As a fellow, Chartered Institute of Taxation of Nigeria. He's a member, Chartered Global Management Accountant, CGMA. He has been the CFO of several firms, such as Secure ID, was a group CFO, Secure ID, was the CFO of Digital Realty, was a country CFO of Mixta Africa, was a former technical accounting manager, MTN Nigeria, was a former accountant with PwC Nigeria. Of course, his resume is so robust. So I can only, just for the time, I can only read this. Thank you so much, Doctor, for giving us a lot of value, for blessing us with your experience, exposure, and all you have got. Thank you so much, sir. We appreciate. So it's now to answer to ask a doctor question. If you have a question, please, you can unmute and go ahead and ask.
Okay, good evening, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Shri, for the insightful session. I really learned a whole lot, and from everything we've discussed, I've noticed some gaps I need to fill and several opportunities that we have as accountants. So my question is bordering on balancing expectation as a recent accounting graduate who is currently working in a large company where, you know, the accounting system is largely unstructured. There is this high expectations, that you can fix it. Meanwhile, you don't really have prior experience. So I don't know how a person can actually cope in this situation and, still stand out. Let me just give a perspective to the question. I'm actually a recent graduate and I got into this company where, prior to my entry, things have been largely unstructured, no proper records, no documentation of expenses, no documentation of assets. Everything is just somehow. I actually came in as someone who will be handling their taxes, but they actually expect me to function in several areas. And even my direct head is actually not measuring up in terms of, putting things in place. So there's this very high expectation that I can fix things. So I don't know how I can actually cope in this kind of situation. There have been times I felt like, maybe I'll just resign. I don't have the experience for this. Or maybe sometimes I'm just confused. At some point, I'm overwhelmed. So I would really love your insights on this, your advice, sir. Thank you very much.
Is that Colin that I just spoke?
Yes, sir.
That's a very good question. And I must start by saying I love your sincerity. You know, it makes a lot of sense. Huh? You know. But let me tell you, experiences are garnered over the years. You understand me?
Yes, sir.
If you tell me you have experience, I will tell you that you have likely put 1 or 2 years or 3 years or 4 years into something because experience is not gotten in one day. Having said that, in this our career life, at times you get more responsibility than you are equipped for. You get more responsibility than you are equipped for. And it's an opportunity. Like I used to tell people, some people serve, and in the end, they will only be during NYC, they will only be doing photocopy. IUV is only photocopy. Some people serve and they will give them correct work. You understand me? They will do some very good work and you'll be wondering, ah, is it a copper that have done this? Is a lie, you know? So if I hear you very well, is that where you work, the expectation is very, very high. They are giving you stuff that you don't have experience to carry out. So my advice for you will be it's an opportunity, embrace it. It is good for you. In such environment, that is where growth is. The only thing I will just tell you is that you should reach out. You should reach out, ask questions. Don't run away from the opportunity. Reach out, ask the right question. You understand me?
Yes, sir.
Call people, study, go online, just find your way out. If you have an external auditor, you can also speak to them to guide you. But my honest opinion, we say that you should not run for the challenge. That is where growth is, and you are likely to grow out of it. You are likely to grow out of it. If you need the right people and you ask the right question, if you need the right people and you ask the right question, you will surmount it and you'll be fine. Talk to auditors, talk to people like us. This is what they ask me to do, and they will guide you. Because for me, I think that is where growth is. And then don't also give an impression that you know. When you are being asked to do, I've not done this before, but let me crack it. You understand me? So that if you make any mistake or what have you, they will say, the guy is a growing guy and all that. But if you ask the right question around, Google, AI, and what have you, you'll be able, talking to a mentor or people in the field that have done that before, you'll be able to scale through. Even your external auditor. Yes, I remember I've done that before. I just called the auditor. I was being in the company. So I don't know what they've done. I don't know how they've done it. I just called the guy to say, how. And I said, this is how we do it. And I was able to do it at that particular point in time. So that would be my advice for you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir, it does. Thank you very much, Dr. Shay. Thank you, sir.
You're
All right,
welcome.
just one more question before we draw the curtain. Just one more. So if you have a question, just go ahead and unmute your mic and speak.
Yes, Samuel Kalu. Good
All right,
evening,
Mr.
everyone.
Kalu, your background is quite noisy. So we can move away from that place so we can hear you.
Okay, okay, I'm trying to. I don't know whether is
Okay,
it better
it's
now?
better
It's still
now.
very
It's
nice.
better now. It's
Okay,
better now.
Okay, my question is similar to what this brother has asked before. Okay, but I will just be more specific, just like he. I work in a hospital. Okay, part of my challenge is I want the uh, a speaker to lay emphasis on projection. He talked about accountants are more of especially these days, talk about the future, not just the past. Okay, and it has always been the challenge. You know, the expenditure aspect, budgeting, fine, but projecting, planning ahead, projecting in terms of income and other things has always been a challenge. So what specific things can areas can one you know what are the specific ways to make that projection work, especially in an unstructured organization, just like you said. Mine is also very unstructured, but you are expected to do a whole lot of things. So I don't know whether the question is clear.
You can hear me?
Yes.
So the question is very apt, and I will tell you, usually to project into the future, are you listening to me? As human beings, we are not God. It's only God that can tell you accurately how the future is going to be. But one thing we do is to use the trend analysis to forecast the future. And I will tell you, say, for instance, you compare your year-on-year growth, 2022 with 2023. Let's say you did 5%. You did, again, 2023 and 2024. Let's say you did 10%. 2024 and 2025, let's say you've grown by just 12%. You can just use that growth trend to forecast what will happen next year. But you must not also do this without talking to your marketing team. That where did they see, or your sales team? Where do you guys see yourself next year? What are your plans to growing the current year revenue? What do you see as the growth rates? So you will now use your trend analysis based on the prior period with what you have garnered from the team to say, okay, if the team are saying maybe 20%, you can discount it. Last year it was just 12%, and you say maybe it will come at 15%. Because there's no how anybody in this world can predict what will happen in the future. So what we use, are you with me, is trend analysis, what we see around, and of course, by talking to the people in charge and say, where do you see the growth? They will tell you stories. There's a new area that just developed. There's this new company that is already we've been talking to, and they promise to come in this year as our customer. By the time you hear all those things and they put all those assumptions together, you'll be able to say, okay, this is how our future will be. And let me also tell you this. It's difficult to do what we call a long-range plan these days because we are now operating in a VUCA world. What do I mean by VUCA world? VUCA is VUCA. It's just an acronym. V means volatility or volatile environment. U means uncertain environment. C means complex environment. And A means ambiguous. What does that tell you? We are now living in an age where everything, are you listening to me, is complex, is convoluted, is complex, is ambiguous. What we can do some 20 years back, we can't do it now because the rate at which things changes is alarming. You just wake up and see that what things have changed. So therefore, people are not able to do long range plan. Long range plan before now used to be between 5 and 10, medium time between 3 and 5, and short time maybe 1 and 2 years. So you just see organizations managing to do 3 years because they know if care is not taken, whatever they have done for 3 years will be 100% somersault or changed before that time. So people just focus majorly on the next 12 months because of this VUCA concept I've mentioned to you. So that's how we do it. Ask questions, then use your trend analysis, and be conservative. That's how we do modeling, and that's how we focus the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Mr. Samuel Carlo, I hope that answers. Okay, I can see the reaction. Please, everyone, join me to appreciate Dr. Oluseyi Olanrewaju. Please, everyone, appreciate him. We really got a lot of value. We got a lot of value, and we are grateful. Thank you so much, Doctor. We are so privileged to have you come speak with us and share with us your expertise, your experience over the years. We are grateful. We are grateful. Thank you so much. I don't know. Somebody's hand is up. I don't know whether Doctor will oblige us to have one more question.
Yes, let's
Doctor.
have it. Let's have it. I came late. Let me use that to appease us.
Oh,
I'm so sorry. Yeah?
thank you so much, sir. Okay, Elizabeth, please go ahead and ask your question.
Sorry, it was a mistake from my hand. Sorry, I just bring it down.
Okay, thank you very much.